talk about student-led conferences, and this is a new take on parent-teacher conferences. And my name is Krista Cornell, and this is for one of my graduate courses for my EDD program. So, have you ever had a student look in your class like this, super frustrated because you probably just told them, I'm going to need to have a parent-teacher conference? And so that's most likely because you had a traditional parent-teacher conference. So what do these look like? Well, obviously they're organized by the teacher. The teacher has full control over these conferences. Especially in the upper grades, there a lot of times is low attendance rates by parents. Parents may sign up and not show up, or they don't want to come, or especially in the upper grades, children and students encourage their parents not to come. They don't want them involved in their school. These meetings focus on the problems. Usually they have a negative connotation to them. It's what is the student doing wrong? Where can they improve? What are the issues that are going on, instead of looking at a more positive situation. Students that actually attend are pretty indifferent during the meeting, and they're not really paying attention. They might be, staring at the ceiling, counting ceiling tiles, but just really not involved. And so this really provides limited opportunities for student participation, involvement, and influence in their own education. Well, that's a really big problem. And another really big problem with these kind of conferences is that a lot of times what a teacher tells a parent differs from what a student tells a parent. And this puts parents in a really awkward situation because now they're finding themselves wedged in between. Who do I believe, the teacher or my child? And so not only will you start off with a defensive environment, you're also going to have issues with communication. So, you think about it, and what's the solution? Well, what if students led their own conferences? The motivation behind this is that students' learning actually benefits from them being directly involved in their own conferences. So, what do student-led conferences look like? What are their characteristics as opposed to the traditional? Well, they're organized by the student themselves. Now, instead of the teacher controlling things, the student has full control. They encourage relationships between students and parents and teachers. The communication is open, it's reciprocal, and it's equal. So instead of a top-down approach where the principal talks to the teacher talks to the parent talks to the student, now it really is an open three-way communication. The student talks to everyone, and everyone feels much more open. This really promotes self-efficacy among the student. It improves their social skills. They have opportunities to now interact with adults on a different setting, in a more formal setting. Students can reflect on their own learning and set their own goals. And parents are much more likely to attend these type of meetings. So this is great. It empowers students. It improves trust between the student and the teacher, and trust between the parent and the teacher, and the parent and the student. It's really a win-win situation. And students have been found to really enjoy the fact that they have the floor. Students like that teachers and parents are listening to what they're saying. Students take responsibility for their own learning, and they really give a better, honest assessment of their work. A lot of parents have said that the evaluation their child gives, they feel is more honest than the one a teacher would give. And so this is just a really amazing situation. So what does a student-led conference look like? Well, the student is obviously going to be the leader, and so they're first going to introduce everyone, especially because the parent and the teacher may not know each other. They're going to lay out the purpose for the meeting and the goals, and then they're going to show their work. And so usually it looks like a portfolio. They talk about their achievements. They may give a justification for why they include certain artifacts in their portfolio. They may talk about their strengths and their weaknesses, where they can improve, what they feel really comfortable with, what they really are excited about. And then at the end, they're going to summarize and reiterate the goals of the meeting, and maybe even their personal goals. And then it's time to open it up for questions from the teacher or the parent. So the student has the fourth floor first, and then the teacher and parents can chime in. And so how do you actually make these work? Well, there is some preparation involved to make a successful student-led conference. So first, every kid needs some sort of a folder or some place to collect these artifacts to put in their portfolio so that they can bring. And that way they can, re-look at their work and reorganize it and figure out what it is they want to include and what it is they don't and the reasons why. This work can also include self-reflections. So how do you feel about it? How are you learning? What's going well? What's not going well? What are your goals, etc.? Then they need to plan the meeting. So, what's the organization of the meeting? What does the script look like? What are you going to set up the room like? And obviously, these are all things that the teacher needs to help discuss with the student. So they have kind of a sounding board to figure it out, because this may be their first time ever doing this. And then it's really encouraged to practice it. Okay, especially how do you speak to adults, how do you speak in a formal meeting, just so you feel comfortable. If you're the leader, if the student is leading the meeting, they need to feel comfortable with what they're doing. And then they need to pick a location for the meeting. So sometimes you really need to be flexible. Maybe a parent can't get to a school by the time of a conference. The student normally rides the bus because they might have to work late. Well, it may be better to meet in a more neutral location or a more convenient location for the parent, so maybe at a coffee shop or something else. Just try to be flexible. And then the student is going to write a formal letter or an invitation to invite their parent and you to this conference at this date and time. So the conference takes place and everything's great, and then what happens after the conference? Well, this is really a great opportunity to continue the dialogue with students, to continue between parents and students, teachers and parents, and teachers and students. It's really all about what they're learning and how they're reflecting and what their goals are, really buying into their own learning. And then maybe write a letter back to the student, because usually the students write a lot of things for you, or even if you're a parent, it's encouraged to write your child a letter. They will really appreciate your honest feedback. And so that is really how you lead a successful student-led conference and the benefits of those over the traditional parent conferences. Thank you.